How many of you are listening to the class? Good number. Right. So start typing in the box. What is a nuclear power accident? Whether it is a natural disaster or a man-made disaster. Vicky mentioned that it is man-made disaster. Very good. Harini, Sumant, very good. So it is a man-made disaster, right? So it is nuclear power accidents do happen basically in the nuclear reactors. Why are nuclear reactors used generally? Nuclear power reactors are generally used either to develop electric energy using nuclear power, or they are employed basically to develop nuclear weapons. So two things. One is for nuclear weapons, the other one is for electrical energy. If it is used on a positive note, we can generate electrical energy. If it is used on a harmful note, then nuclear weapons can be derived from these nuclear reactors, isn't it? What is a normal material which is used in nuclear reactors? You might have come across in PS1, right? Anyone? What is a normal material which is used in this nuclear reactors? Anyone? What is a fuel which is used in nuclear reactors? Vivek, uranium, Sumant, uranium, very good. 92U235. So it is generally used in for generation of electric energy and also for developing nuclear weapons also. It is a radioactive material, isn't it? And these radioactive materials, they will be developing radiation, which are not good for human beings. Now the question arises, sir, is it really that a human being cannot withstand radiation? Yes, human being can withstand radiation, but only to minor levels. If a large level of radiation is being exposed to the human beings, then their internal parts and also external parts will get damaged. So it's all about the radiation level to which we are being exposed to. A nuclear disaster, nuclear incident is considered to be a disaster when large amounts of radiation are released into the atmosphere and when human beings or other life matters, they will get exposed to this large radiation. So any uncontrolled radiation which is being exposed to human lives or animals or flora is considered to be a nuclear disaster. Okay. I think, yeah. So I will start now. So today we will be discussing about both nuclear power accidents and also chemical disasters. So firstly, nuclear disaster. You might have already read it in your PS1, how this nuclear energy will be generated and what is the material which is used for. So we'll just only discuss about the precautionary measures what we can take in case of nuclear disasters. You all know that if a nuclear disaster happens, basically, you might have seen this nuclear bombs and atom bombs, etc., hydrogen bombs, etc. The damage which is caused by these things, it goes on forever. It lives on for hundreds of years. But let us suppose if the disaster is of a small scale, then let's see what are the precautionary measures which we can take. Okay. So today's class is completely on precautionary measures for nuclear power accidents. And first of all, let's have a quick review about nuclear energy and what do you mean by radiation and what are the futures of a nuclear disaster. Followed by, as an electrical engineer, we must know where the nuclear power plants in India are. And we will take a few case studies of Chernobyl and Fukushima nuclear reactor. And finally, we will discuss about the precautionary measures. Okay. So first of all, what do you mean by radiation? You all know that radiation is just some sort of energy which is generally propagated in terms of rays or waves or some sort of energy particles, high energy particles. And these rays or waves or these energy particles, they travel through any medium. Preferably our atmosphere is made up of air. So the radiation, we assume that it is traveling through air. Now, this energy, whichever is traveling in the form of rays or waves, as long as it is within the limits, we don't get any problem. But if it is beyond the limits, then it is considered as a disaster. Normally, all the atoms, you might have studied in your chemistry, all the atoms basically they will be releasing energy whenever they experience any changes. But these unstable atoms, particularly, which do come under this F block, if you can see them, these particles, which are basically unstable in nature, they will be releasing energy, and this energy is exclusively called as radiation. So they normally be unstable and they will be releasing energy till they become stable. This is what we have discussed in the chemistry. On an average, every person is exposed to the radiation. Even I, even you, everybody is exposed to the radiation. Normally, the radiation which we get exposed will be of normal levels, and it is measured in terms of REMs. So normally, a human being gets exposed to 360 millirems of radiation or 0.36 rems of radiation every year. Out of this, most of the 80% of this radiation comes from the natural resources, and a very miniature part comes from the man-made resources, like we do use so many radiation particles, right? Even our mobile also, it will emit some sort of radiation, but it will be of very minimum value. So most of the times we will be also exposed to radiations, but it is in the prescribed levels. Now, normally with a human being, because of the senses, with his senses, ear, eyes and nose, we are not capable of sensing the radiations naturally with our natural senses. So that's why it is difficult for us to identify whether an area is affected with high radiation or not. And as already mentioned, since we will be in all the places around us because of this 4G and 5G and because of our extensive usage of mobiles, etc., radiation is slowly increasing, isn't it? But still it is in the prescribed levels. Still we are able to bear that. And this radiation is also released by unstable atoms, which are clearly mentioned in our chemistry courses, that there are some radioactive materials which can release large amount of energy, which is generally termed as radiation. Now, when these unstable atoms, if they are exposed to atmosphere, let us suppose uranium, if it is exposed to the atmosphere, it will release large amount of energy into the atmosphere, which means large amount of radiation is exposed into the environment. Now, this is going to happen, this is going to result in a disaster. Okay. You might have seen in movies and in videos that whenever there is, even you might have seen some short clips about atom bomb. You might have seen that whenever an atom bomb is dropped or a nuclear bomb is dropped, suddenly what happens? The material immediately, whenever it gets exposed to the atmosphere, it will release radiation and it will be in the form of a cloud. You might have seen in so many movies and videos, right? So this nuclear disaster or this nuclear incidents basically are characterized by a cloud-like a formation, what we call it as plume, which is nothing but consisting of this radiation, dust and particles, etc., etc. So normally nuclear disasters are characterized by these plume formations. And how much area is being affected? It's not the area where you are dropping. This radiation, it spreads into all directions. And the spreading of this radiation into different directions, it spreads into all the directions in all the 8 directions which it has. 365 degrees, it will be 360 degrees, it will be spreading basically. And as the distance goes on from the point of contact, from the point of exposure, the radiation will be decreasing, isn't it? And you know that what are the factors which do affect this radiation better? Let us suppose if I drop a bomb, let us suppose in Warangal, based upon the wind speed, based upon the wind direction of the wind, based upon the weather conditions like rain, snow, etc. If rain is falling, then automatically radiation gets contained in that area. Let us suppose if there is a huge wind, then the radiation gets transmitted to different directions, isn't it? Sometimes if there are high pressure winds which are coming from the top, then these high pressure winds, they will direct the radiation to the ground. If there are only surface winds, they will let the radiation to travel into some directions, isn't it? So the winds, the rain or snow, etc., these will determine the amount of radiation which will be released. Okay. Now you can see the operational nuclear power plants in India. These are the operational nuclear power plants in India. You can see them. I think you know most of these things, right? You can see these are all the operational nuclear power plants. You know this BWR and PHWR, isn't it? And see the different states are having nuclear power plants. See one thing. In Tamil Nadu itself, we do have 2 plants. The first one was Kalpakkam, which was near Chennai. It was an old one which had 2 units, 2 reactors, each one of 220. But this was the biggest and the latest one, Kudankulam nuclear power plant. Till now, there are so many problems going on in the Kudankulam power plant because the people are opposing the erection of this particular one. See, this is a very large nuclear power plant, which is giving 1000. The capacity is 1000 megawatts. Each nuclear reactor is of very huge one, and these are normally cooled by the seawater. So, see, you can see in Tamil Nadu, in Uttar Pradesh, this was an old one, and see in Rajasthan, 1180. In Maharashtra also, 1400. These 2 are the new plants, and yeah. There is a private power plant also in Madras in Kalpakkam, which is handled by Bhavani Industries. This Bhavani Industries is handling a private operator which works under the government of India itself. This is one. Actually, it is supposed to be completed by 2018, but still it is being delayed. And this is also still under construction, stage 3 and 4, which is now stalled basically. See now, we are going to experience 5300 more megawatts of nuclear power generation. Now, if you carefully see, these are the existing plants. Now, if you carefully see, is there any nuclear power plant in the Telugu states? No. You can see so many thermal plants being set up in different states, so many hydel plants setting up across. Then why nuclear power plants are not being set up across the country in all the states? You know what are the advantages of nuclear power plants, right? As an electrical engineer, we can say that nuclear power plants are highly efficient. They will consume very less space. The amount of fuel consumed is also very, very low. Low space, low fuel requirement, higher efficiency. It has all the advantages it has got. Then what is the problem with the nuclear power? The only problem with the nuclear power plant is, if at all, if there is any disaster, the impact will be very, very, very high. So that's why people are opposing the setting of nuclear reactors in their states. The central government is giving too many incentives. It is asking all the state governments to install nuclear power plants, but still the common people, they still fear that if anything happens, then it is going to be a problem. That is the biggest problem. That is the biggest fear in the human minds regarding the nuclear power plants in our country. But for our fortune, so far in our country, we haven't experienced any nuclear disasters. That is the biggest advantage which we do have. Okay. Now, moving ahead. Yeah. Now I will give you a glimpse of few nuclear disasters. You know this Chernobyl disaster, isn't it? You know this Chernobyl disaster. Chernobyl was a nuclear reactor which was set up in Russia, and there was a problem in the nuclear reactor which went undetected. The problem was the core. You know that in a nuclear reactor there will be core, there will be moderator, there will be coolant, etc., isn't it? The core was being damaged, which wasn't noticed. So suddenly the nuclear reactor, it got exploded because of the damage of the core. So what happened is the nuclear plant was suddenly shut down. It happened in 1980s. See, I think I have mentioned the year also. It happened in 1986, 26th April 1986, 32 years ago. Sorry, 35 years ago now. In the early morning hours. And see the reason for this one. It was the explosion of a core during emergency shutdown of reactor. Basically, we can see that nuclear power plants are more automated. So that's why the immediate deaths were very less, 31. And that too, it was located in a faraway location. So that's why indirect deaths was only 15. But the area which it covered because of this nuclear disaster was very huge. And it is estimated that $16 billion at that time was the loss which was incurred by the Russian government. And nearly 2 lakh people in 1985 were evacuated because of this radiation problems. That was the worst disaster which has happened with respect to nuclear incidents. Chernobyl disaster. Even the area, Chernobyl area, even to now, it is not suitable for human life, even after 35 years of service. Now, there was a recent disaster, which was the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, which happened in Japan. This was because of an earthquake. You know that in the last classes also we have discussed about earthquakes. You know that Japan frequently experiences earthquakes and tsunamis. So there was this particular incident of earthquake which resulted in a small tsunami. So the waves were increasing, and this Fukushima Daiichi nuclear reactor was very close to the seashore. So because of one of the earthquakes or something like that, something might have got damaged inside, which went unnoticed. So what happened is suddenly there was an explosion in the nuclear reactor, and the immediate deaths were unknown so far, maybe 0 or 1, because the government has not released any official information. But unofficially, it is estimated that nearly 1,500 to 2,000 people have died because of the radiation exposure. In the radiation, which was developed in Japan, it traveled, and it was during the period of high winds, and it traveled to the coasts of Russia and China in the west, and also to the east parts of US. See, imagine Japan is a country, radiation from that Fukushima reactor. This radiation traveled to borders of Russia, China, on the other side US. And these countries, they have warned Japan that if this radiation is not stopped, actually Japan was not ready to stop this nuclear reactor. They wanted to it, and again they wanted to run it, because Japan. Oh, most of the energy comes from nuclear reactors only. They don't have resources to set up thermal plants and hydel plants, because you know that they are just like an archipelago, what we call a group of islands, isn't it? So they majorly rely upon nuclear reactors. And with the intervention of these superpowers, China, Russia, and America, they started controlling the nuclear reactors. And they stopped this Fukushima Daiichi nuclear reactor. See the impact. Impact of a nuclear reactor is hurting many countries if any incident happens. The number of fatalities will be low, but the area, whichever is being exposed there, it won't be suitable for human life for the next upcoming years. So those are the problems with nuclear disasters. So because of all these reasons, humans are not ready to set up the nuclear power plants in their area. Even in Warangal, are we ready to set up a nuclear power plant here? The central government promises that if we set up a nuclear power plant here, all the cost will be taken up by the central government. Additionally, 50% of the power generated in the nuclear power plant will be given to the state government. Even though the state governments are not ready, because they are getting huge agitation from the people. The people are not ready to listen. The people are fearing a lot. Even we electrical engineers also, are human beings. I do also fear if someone erects a nuclear power plant near my home. In spite of all the safety measures and precautionary measures we take, we still have a small amount of fear in our hearts. So that is a problem with the nuclear disasters. Next, moving ahead. So what must be the precautionary measures which we are supposed to take in case of nuclear disasters? Assuming that the nuclear disaster is of a small scale, because if it is a larger scale, we don't find any time, right? So let us suppose near our home, there is some sort of nuclear accident has happened. So what we should do? Can anybody suggest me? How to avoid the radiation? I am staying in my home, but somewhere near the area, there is a nuclear incident has happened. So let's see what are the precautionary measures which we can take. Let us suppose a nuclear disaster has happened and there was an emergency call, and we are asked to stay back in the home because there is a radiation released outside. So what we must do immediately? We are supposed to immediately close all the inlets in our house. Close the windows and doors and turn off air conditioning vents. This is the most important because radiation is very small. It travels through air medium. So air conditioning vents must be closed. Okay. And next is go to the basement or underground area where you can experience less amount of radiation and stay inside until authorities direct. And most important, the radiation make it onto the surface of the things which are present in your home, and particularly even onto your eatables also. So that's why if you are living in an area which constantly exposes to radiation, so whenever you are going to eat anything, just wash and also peel the upper layers of vegetables and fruits. Okay. So these are the things which you are supposed to do in case if there is an emergency. Let us suppose if you are coming from outside, if you are staying in home, these are the things which you are supposed to do. Now let's see if you are coming from the outdoors. So whenever you are coming from the outdoors, you have already experienced a radiation and you have come home. So immediately what you are supposed to do, you remove all the clothes outside itself and you take a quick shower to wash off the radiation on your body, and put the worn items outdoors in a plastic bag and seal it so that radiation will not come out. Okay. So these are the precautionary measures which we can take in case of a nuclear radiation. And guys, so what are the factors which minimize the radiation exposure to our body? Only time. Only time is a factor. As the time goes on, radiation will decrease. And as the distance is farther, then also radiation will be decreasing. So three factors which do affect this radiation exposure. Number one is time. Number two is distance. Number three is shielding yourselves. Nuclear shielding. You might have seen in movies also. those who are working in nuclear power plants, they will be having a nuclear shields, right, which will stop the radiation. So only these things, these three are the things which can minimize the radiation exposure. And see, these are the glimpse of nuclear disasters. See the plume-like of formation in the fourth picture. See, this is called as a plume. This is called as a plume. Okay. And yeah. So what are the precautionary measures? We don't have so many precautionary measures if we are exposed to nuclear radiation. What we can do is stay indoors, close off all the air vents so that no radiation comes inside. Stay in the underground if possible. And if you want to eat anything, just wash and peel off the outer layers. And if you are coming from outdoors, just remove all the clothes, keep them in a plastic bag and seal it, and wash yourselves before doing anything. These are the only simple precautions what we can take. And only three things can protect you from radiation. One is time, the other one is a distance, the third one is shield. So that's it from my side regarding nuclear accidents. Now we will move on to chemical accidents. Nuclear accidents, they happen very rarely, but chemical accidents, they occur very, very frequently, whether it is a small scale or a large scale one. You know, this is Einstein, right? He gives a lot of captions regarding nuclear power because he worked on that. So now we will have a quick look about nuclear disasters. So now we will move ahead with the chemical disasters. So now chemical disasters are commonly encountered even in our surroundings also, because we do find large amount of chemical plants. If you are staying in Hyderabad, you can see there are so many industrial areas where there are so many chemical industries, pharmaceutical industries, etc. So all these things, they will be handling so many number of chemicals, isn't it? So now today's class, after having read the nuclear disasters, which are less frequent, we will move on to the chemical disasters, which are more frequent. We'll have a quick look about the precautionary measures which we can take during the chemical disasters. We'll start with a quick introduction and we'll see the causes, and we'll have a quick look about major chemical disasters. And we'll take the case study of Bhopal disaster, and we'll just have a quick look about the precautionary measures which we can take. Okay. So moving ahead. As already mentioned, nuclear accident is based upon the radiation which we get exposed. Similarly, chemical accident is related to any hazardous substance which is not suitable for human life. So any unintentional release of hazardous substances, whether one or more than one, which can harm the human life or the environment. So all this, they will be considered under chemical disasters. Chemical disasters are handled by Ministry of Environment. Keep this in mind, guys. Chemical disasters are handled by Ministry of Environment, whereas nuclear disasters are handled by Minister of Power and Energy. You know that there are different portfolios in the central government, right? For each and every disaster, we do have different ministers who will be responding. So if it is a chemical disaster, then Minister of Environment should react. Okay. So chemical accident is one, and these chemical hazards are accidents where we do experience the release of few or more chemical materials, which will be harmful to the human beings. They may create some sort of ticklish feelings, and they may create some sort of respiratory problems, or they may damage our personality. They may create some prolonged illness, or they may create disability. So different types of accidents may occur because of these chemical substances. And mostly we'll be handling with toxic substances, which may be poisonous also. So why do these happen, chemical disasters? The first thing is because of the chemical industries, right? Is it avoidable? No, it is not avoidable. We should use chemicals for manufacturing so many things. Our chemical industry, our pharmaceutical industry, they are all equipped with these infrastructure which can handle these chemicals. So it is unavoidable. So then why there are chemical disasters? Can anybody say? Yeah. This is the only reason. One is excessive use without proper knowledge. The second thing is not handling them properly. No adequate knowledge of the people who are handling it. This is the biggest reason why chemical accidents are happening regularly. In Hyderabad, you can see for every month there might be some fire accident or chemical accident in any of the chemical industrial areas. You can see them very frequently. Why it is happening regularly? Because the people are not having any good knowledge. They are not properly trained how to handle these powerful chemicals. This is one of the biggest reasons. That's why we have grouped this one in man-made disasters. Now you can see these are the list of major chemical disasters across the globe. And I'll just give you a glimpse of Bhopal disaster. How many of you do remember this Bhopal disaster? A year before Chernobyl disaster, this has happened. Bhopal disaster. Even to this day, the people in Bhopal are suffering because of this. The people who suffered at that time. How many of you do remember this Bhopal disaster, which is normally called as a Bhopal gas tragedy? It happened in the midnight. I will just give a glimpse about these things. It happened in the midnight. There was a chemical, there was a unit which was handling this methyl isocyanates. There are so many stories, spoken bull stories, which do happen in the news and news channels. But I have gone through several literature also how this happened. It was just a grave mistake of the handling people who were there, who are not monitoring the temperature. So it was midnight. The people who were there in the plant, they haven't noticed, and suddenly the methyl liquid which was there, the tank, it immediately got exploded, was released, and nobody observed it. Midnight, and particularly in the duration of January, the climate was very cold. That in the time of 1984 and 1995, everybody used to sleep outside itself. So most of the people were sleeping outside, and it was reported that the gas which was leaked in the midnight, it has traveled nearly 2 to 3 kilometers. And the people who have inhaled it, they died immediately on the beds itself outside. See the tragic accident in the night itself. And the people who have inhaled the gas, they died immediately. By the morning, everybody who went in and watched things, they saw a pile of dead bodies. Wherever you go in that Bhopal, there was a pile of dead bodies. Dead bodies across the roads, dead bodies across the houses. Just because of a grave mistake of the company for not properly monitoring the temperatures inside the things. In 1985 itself, the estimated deaths was nearly 4,000 officially. Unofficially, you can say nearly 10 times higher, isn't it? These were only deaths, beta. But most of the people, they didn't experience death, but they experienced greater than that. They experienced long-lasting illnesses. I will show you a few pictures now. They might be devastating. Some people who don't feel good just don't view the pictures, but I will show you the pictures of the Bhopal gas tragedy. Even to this day, the people who suffered at that time, they still are facing problems, digestive problems, respiratory problems, no proper growth in the children, even after 2 generations. The people who have experienced the Bhopal gas tragedy, who have inhaled methyl isocyanate at that time, even after 2 generations also, their kids are not growing properly. See the impact of that one. See how many non-fatal injuries? 5.5 lakhs just because of one small incident which was overlooked by the people who were there. And the company was Union Carbide India Private Limited, which was a Russian company. It happened in 1984. Now I will show you the pictures. See, it is considered to be the world's worst industrial disaster. It happened on the night of 2 to 2nd, 3rd December 1984 in Bhopal. Over 5 lakh people were exposed to methyl isocyanate gas. Official death was nearly 3,787. And see, in 2006 itself, the government estimated that 5.5 lakh people were exposed to this one. And the cause of disaster remains still, even now, even after this 35 years also, still it is debatable. See, the people, the kids who have been exposed to these things. See the eyes of these guys, completely eaten away. And see the list. These many number of people. See the bodies of the kids, how they have been transformed because of being exposed to this methyl isocyanate. The generations are suffering. There are no proper growth in their bodies for the kids. These are the problems with chemical disasters. And these are all man-made disasters. Just because of our negligence, these are happening. And that's why after this incident, even before this incident also, we had very good acts. But you know that the government acts will be just only on the paper and no persons are more concerned about their implementation. Isn't it? We do have so many things. Starting from 1884, the British government has imposed some serious acts. And after this act, there were 4 important things. 4 important legislations which were done, but still these are all on paper. Still we are experiencing chemical disasters now and then in Hyderabad. Those people who are living in Hyderabad, you can experience few things which are happening regularly in Hyderabad. And what are the precautions which we can take? We can say that we can take so many precautions and etc. etc. But the first and foremost thing what we are supposed to do better, don't be negligent while you are in the duty. That's the only thing what I can say for you guys. Whenever you are doing in your duty, whether it is a chemical thing or some other thing, don't be negligent because it is going to cost you a lot. In case of a chemical plant, it is going to cost you a lot of lives. In case of your life, if you are negligent, it will cost your life. That's it. Man-made disasters are just caused because of our negligence or because of our improper knowledge. Now let's have a quick look about the precautions which are to be taken during and after the chemical accidents. Okay. Now I will start with one particular one, and yeah, this is the most important thing. You are supposed to evacuate. Let us suppose if a company, or let us suppose anywhere in your premises or nearby surroundings, there was a chemical disaster. You are supposed to evacuate calmly. Don't panic. perpendicular to the wind direction. Okay, this is most important. If you are moving in the wind direction, then the chemical things or the nuclear things, they will be traveling with you. So that's why move in the perpendicular direction to the wind direction. Okay, this is one thing. And keep a wet handkerchief. This is the most important thing, because wet handkerchiefs mostly are a little bit dense and they will protect us from the chemicals or radiations, etc. So try to have a wet handkerchief or a piece of cloth or sari or whatever you have it. So these two are the few precautions which I am mentioning. Now I am inviting any precautions from your side. If you are experiencing any chemical accidents, you are in the chemical lab, let us suppose there was an explosion. So what are the immediate precautions you are supposed to take? Anybody? Because everybody among us will be somewhere at a point in our life will be exposed to this chemical accidents. So one thing is move perpendicular to the wind direction. The other one is keeping a wet handkerchief. Any other things? So if you are staying in a home, if the people are not there ready to move, just close all the windows and doors, just as in the case of radiation. So don't let the gases come into your house. Close all the ventilators and air conditioners, etc. and cover them. And wash the food if it is exposed. Peel off the outer layers. Okay. And change into fresh clothing. Wash yourself if you are coming from outside. Change into fresh clothes. And whatever the materials which you have worn on the outside, just tie them in a rubber sheet and seal it. Okay. And if at all, if you feel anything abnormal, just immediately call this people. I will just try to give an example. Even the reason for that is also still unknown. How many of you have listened to the news that there was an unsolved mystery in East Godavari and West Godavari districts in the early morning hours? The people just early morning itself, those who were outside, they immediately fell off on the roads. Recently, some 4 to 5 months back. How many of you do remember? జనాలు ఎక్కడికెక్కడ రోడ్ల మీద పడిపోయారు, అందరి నోట్లోంచి నురుగులు వచ్చినాయి, గుర్తుందా? Yes, Teju has raised a hand. Still the reason isn't unknown, right? People still believe that there is some sort of VSKP gas leak. అందరూ అదే అనుకుంటున్నారు, అవునా? VSKP gas leak, right? విశాఖపట్నం గ్యాస్ లీక్. దాని తర్వాత కూడా రెగ్యులర్గా కోస్టల్ ఏరియాస్లో మీరు అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తారా, ఇలాంటి ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ రావడం స్టార్ట్ అయ్యాయి. Nobody still knows what were the reasons. బట్ విశాఖపట్నంలో గ్యాస్ లీక్ అయింది కాబట్టి అదొక రీజన్ చెప్తున్నారు. బట్ మిగిలిన డిస్ట్రిక్ట్స్లో కూడా వచ్చింది తర్వాత ప్రాబ్లం. స్టిల్ ద రీజన్స్ ఆర్ అన్నోన్. సో ఇఫ్ యూ ఫైండ్ ఎనీథింగ్ అబ్నార్మల్, immediately call upon the emergency services. 101, 100, 108. There is one more number, 1070, which is exclusively for natural calamities. Okay. So, and listen to public address system and provide accurate information to the government officials if they ask you. And that's it. Don't spread rumors, guys. So these are the precautionary measures which you are supposed to take in case of chemical disasters. So two important things: run in the direction of perpendicular to the winds. If you do have that much amount of knowledge, run to the perpendicular direction of winds. Second thing is try to have a wet handkerchief. Cover yourself with a wet handkerchief or something, some clothes or something. Just cover your nose. Okay. Nose and ears are two sensitive organs, which if exposed to chemical things for a large time, they will get damaged permanently. Okay, so try to cover these two things. And in case if there are any toxic emissions, what are the precautions which we are supposed to take? So first thing is close all the doors and windows, all the curtains and seal ventilators, everything, and turn off all the air conditioners. And if at all, if any naked flames are there, try to extinguish them immediately, because the toxic emissions, they will improve they will raise your flames. Okay, and travel far away from the place. If at all, if you are in a building, move to the farthest room which is there to the incident of disaster, and listen to the radio. And most important, stay indoors until you get further information. Okay. So normal time. Let us suppose if you are getting a job. Now I will show you. There is few companies. HURL company is there. Hindustan Urja Fertilizers Limited, isn't it? HUFRL company is there. They will recruit electrical engineers based upon GATE score. It is a chemical company. See, many chemical companies, they do require electrical engineers also. So let us suppose if you are an electrical engineer who is working in a chemical company. So what are the general precautions which you are supposed to take? The first thing is, if you are in a chemical company, do not use any mobiles, do not use any smoke and any lighting of fire, any smoking, anything etc. Do not do any sort of things in the hazardous area. That is the most important thing, most important precaution which you are supposed to take. Okay, and try to be more vigilant and keep the contact numbers of the nearest hazardous industry, fire station, police station, all the things. And this is not possible, but if possible, avoid housing near the industries producing toxics. Okay. That's it from my side. So anything else? These are all the general precautions which have been taken from the government website. You don't find them interesting because these are all the general things. So anything from your sides?